gorgeous ones, how are we? I think I miraculously have got good vision on Facebook and good vision on Instagram, so hooray. Hello Bronwyn, how are you, gorgeous woman? Today I've got a few things to talk about, I've got a few things to cook, and I think we'll get cracking. One of the things I wanted to show you, I don't know if you can see them from here, part of my new fancy earring brigade. So remember, as part of my year of fun, I try and look for things that are simple, that will just make my life feel a bit more fun than just, you know, the usual daily grind. So, lovelies, tonight I did my usual, open up my cupboard, what have I got to cook? I'm home, yes, I am home. Yes, I had my holiday last week in the caravan, which went very well. Then on the weekend, I flew to Brisbane to speak at a keto conference, and I had two talks. One was behaviour change, you know, we love that, Mary and I. So the science of behaviour change. And the other one was actually on the estrogenic effects of fat storage. Hello, hello, gorgeous colours. I know, how lucky am I is this? This is like real life medicine colours. It's almost like I ordered this jumper, but I just happened to see it and I happened to have it. I thought, I've got to have this. It's so like, oh, Sue's sick. Can I help you? Not from here, Sue. But it's very sad. I'm sad that you're sick. Hello, Marie. Haven't seen you for a little while, darling. I hope you're well. So I thought I'll get cracking on what I'm going to cook. Basically, I'm flinging together. Remember, this is all about real food, real fast. Hello, Annette. Hello, everybody. And what can I fling together that is quick and fast, that will not take very long, that is delicious and nutritious? So as you know, we follow a formula at Real Life Medicine. It's really simple. Pick a protein, add some veggies, add some fat if the protein is lean, and add some flavour. So I am just going to cut off a little bit of butter, just a tiny hunk. You can use anything. You can cook in butter, you can cook in ghee if you want to, you can cook in coconut oil. Everyone gets worried about olive oil. What about olive oil? You can cook in olive oil. The temperatures that we use for cooking this sort of food, they're not super high. If you are doing deep frying, if you are cooking at a really high temperature, then perhaps olive oil might not be so helpful, but it's fine at these, you know, really, it's not super high. So I'm just going to fling my butter in. So I'm going to talk to you tonight a little bit while I'm cooking about the estrogen chat. Hey Helen, oh thank you, gorgeous woman. It's the colours. And normally, you know, sometimes I'm in pink, but I do, if I could get more of this sky blue, it's not very fashionable at the moment, but if I could get more of this, I would, because I really love this. So remember, this is food to show that you can cook a real meal really quickly without lots of things. So I am of course getting my famous frozen onions. I have not chopped an onion in about 2 years. Onions have lots of, now some people obviously don't tolerate onions. You know, we know that if you've got FODMAPs, if you're refluxy, if you're very lectin intolerant, if you're nightshade intolerant, some people don't tolerate onions. Fortunately for me, I do, because they've got lots of goodness in them. They've got a lot of probiotics in them and good for flavour. So anyway, I'll just fling a few in. Might turn that up a bit. I've got my spoon here. So while this is heating up, I'm also going to put in, so this is, basically I'm making a chicken stroganoff. So I've got some chicken mince here. It's a free range, hormone-free chicken mince. Chicken mince is great because it's not very expensive. So, you know, for people like beef mince, organic grass-fed beef mince is really expensive. So I understand for people on a budget, it can be really problematic. But this chicken mince is really cheap. Sadly, when I ordered it, I picked up one. I should have got two. But anyway, it is what it is. Just put this up a bit. I'll wait for this to brown. So this is seriously, so I've gone, right, I'm going to do a chicken stroganoff. Mingle, my favourite, a bit of a stroganoff-y one. I don't know if you can see that. It's, I don't use the stroganoff very often, but it's getting a bit cool down here in Melbourne, and I think what drew me to it was the hearty word. Oh yeah, hearty, I feel like some hearty stuff. So I've got a bit of this. I found at the bottom of my fridge a packet of cold slaw. Now this cold slaw's got rubbish in it, and the rubbish is this packet of dirty ingredients and this packet of equally dirty, crunchy noodles. They'll go in the bin. If you wanted to, you could certainly just chop up some cabbage. I often have a packet of this for emergencies, and as it turned out, I hadn't used my emergency. It's well and truly past the date that it should be used by, but I opened it up, had a sniff, and it's fine. So you know what? I'm not throwing it out just because it's past the use by date. I'm going to use it. I often, as I said, I often have a packet of coleslaw for emergencies, or if, or obviously you can chop up a cabbage. They're not that hard, but I think trying to remove the barrier. So the barrier for a lot of people. Oh, thank you, darling, about my jumper. The barrier for a lot of people in cooking real food is it's too hard. It's really complicated. I've got to chop too many things. You actually don't. You can do no chop cooking. In fact, tonight's no chop cooking. Someone else has chopped. It's a bit more expensive to do that. So you can either pay someone to chop it or you chop it yourself. Coleslaw is cheap. Buying a cabbage is even cheaper. If you want to have something, I always just have a few things. Now, I don't cook like this every single night. I do actually chop. I have got very good knives and they're lovely and sharp now. But if you want to have an emergency meal, or your brain is going, oh my God, I've got too many things to do. Hello, Lee. I've got to take the kids here. I've got to take the kids there. I haven't come home. I've come home from work late. Literally, you can put this together in 15 minutes. So bang in my chicken mince, rescue out the little bit of goop over there, and I'm just going to fry that up a bit. And while that's frying up, I will open up my mingle and stir that through it as well. Now, the mingle recipe, there's recipes on the back of mingle if you ever want them. I find they often use a little too much liquid for my liking, because I don't use rice or anything, obviously. So I rather, you can, if it's liquidy, then it feels a little bit like you're eating soup. But if it's not very liquidy, then it just feels like you're eating like a hearty dish. When I first started low carb eating, I religiously cooked cauliflower rice, basically mimicking the way I used to eat, which was rice and curry or potato and something or other. You want an emergency meal every night, Lee? Yeah, good. Yeah, there's no reason why you can't. Oh God, it smells good. I wish you had smell-o-vision on socials. So while this is just cooking away, seriously, it's not even going to take 10 minutes to cook. Oh, it's good. Lots of flavours in it. Now the mingle thing, what do I do with it? It's got in the stroganoff. Look, it's got onion, garlic, paprika, pink Himalayan salt, pepper and parsley. Like there's nothing else in it. There's no fillers, there's no anti-caking agency, nothing. So, it feels like a packaged food because it is coming out of a packet, but it is just real food. It's dehydrated. So when you look at the carb count on the packet, you'll have a heart attack because you go, oh my God, like 55 grams per 100 grams. But that's because this has literally taken all the water out. So the carb per packet is, I can't actually work that out, but it's not very much in the end. Like 4 maybe, hardly anything. Because really, it is just herbs and spices. Most of the carbs would be coming in the onion. If you didn't want to cook off your own onion, you probably don't even need to. I just like cooking it. I like the texture of onion in your dish. Now, so I went to Brisbane. I went to Brisbane, had a chat at this conference. It was lovely. And what the talk I was going to do, turned out somebody else had already done the talk that day. So I whipped home that night, whipped up a new talk. And my talk was actually on mainly estrogen as a fat-storing hormone. So you've heard us talk a lot about insulin. Okay, insulin is our major fat-storing hormone. But it's not the only one. We do have estrogen involved. And the way this works, right, think about kids. So you've got little kids, they're straight up and down. Not all of them these days because there's childhood obesity issues as well. But kids are meant to be sort of straight up and down, no curves, nothing. They're eating the same food. They're eating food, they're straight up and down. And then puberty develops. So puberty comes along, lovely big whack of estrogen. Girls start storing subcutaneous fat on their hips and their bottom and their legs and their boobs. It's subcutaneous, which means just under the skin. It is not around their middle. Boys get their testosterone surge and build muscle. So boys will go from being a skinny little boy to their V shape. It's the testosterone. They're not out lifting weights. Nothing's changed. Nothing in their food has changed. Nothing in their activity has changed, but their hormones have changed. So we've got to be mindful that these two hormones are very involved. Progesterone is involved as well in a slightly different way, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. I just don't want to burn this while I'm chatting. So seriously, this is what I'm going to do for this. I've got some tomato paste. Now you all know the trick, I think I've told you last week, you all know the trick about tomato paste. When it's open, you then store it in the fridge upside down and it won't go mouldy. So I'm just going to fling in a couple of dollops. Just stir that around, just to make sure that gets in. And then I'm throwing in my cabbage. And I'll throw the rest in. The only reason I put it into the bowl is because if there's any big chunks, like this ridiculous piece of cabbage, I just throw them out. If you had chickens, you could give them to chickens. Or my goat might get them. So basically that, I've got a pile of mushrooms I'm going to fling in, because you can't really have stroganoff without mushrooms. And again, these are my emergency pre-chopped. Do all doctors learn this stuff? No, Michelle, they do not. And both Mary and I have gone off and done extra training in various guises. And we have been to, various low carb conferences around Australia. We've watched international conferences, and I've done some extra training with lifestyle medicine, which is extremely good training, but their nutrition is not my favourite. It's plant-based nutrition, and as you know, Mary and I are not plant-based. We are very loud and proud omnivores. We love plants, but we love meat. And I think getting the mixture for the majority of people is helpful. Some people don't tolerate plants and are eating a carnivore style diet. And interestingly, there is a condition, how's this for sort of horrendous? There is a condition called mammalian meat anaphylactic syndrome. And it's induced by a tick. So in southern Victoria, or western Victoria, over near the Grampians, you can get bitten by this tick and you develop an anaphylactic reaction to any mammalian meat products that you eat or are injected. Now I know that sounds weird, but glycerine, which is in a basis of a lot of medications and a lot of IV fluids, is animal based. So who knew? So yeah, so mammalian tick anaphylactic syndrome. Let's hope we don't get that. So let's go back to estrogen. So estrogen, now estrogen and progesterone. So men, if there's any men watching, I can see Kevin Chan, you're watching. So men have testosterone levels that stay really flat for the majority of the time. There is some increase as they're going, from puberty. It goes up a little bit into their 20s, and then into their 30s it starts to decline. But from a day-to-day point of view, it is largely the same. Women, every month we have changes in two of our major hormones, estrogen and progesterone, but also in our brain hormones that talk to our ovaries, so FSH and LH. Every day they will be different levels. So every day our body's going, oh my God, what's going on here? It's getting used to it, it's doing stuff every single day. It explains a lot. Mingle is great, lovely flavours. Thank you, good, Brodwin, I'm happy with that. So here's the thing, right? So you're a skinny little girl, you get your hormones, you get all your curves, and that's all fine. Now, two things happen for a lot of women. They might have a baby. Dr. Mary will tell you a whole heap of hormone things happen to a pregnant woman. And pregnant women develop gestational diabetes, and they can do that despite having a low carbohydrate diet. You miss progesterone. Millie's written. So if Mary wasn't following a low carbohydrate diet, there is no doubt she would have been diagnosed with gestational diabetes much earlier than she has now. She's got genes that are working against her. Both her parents have type 2 diabetes. They're an insulin resistance, epigenetic stall. So we know that. we know that the part of the reason that women develop type 2 or gestational diabetes is progesterone. So progesterone is a insulin, it increases your insulin resistance. So every month when women are menstruating, this is before menopause, Deborah, the second half of their cycle, they are more insulin resistant. So we know this, and if anyone here has type 1 diabetes or knows a type 1 diabetic, they will know that they often need to inject more insulin in the second half of the cycle than in the first half. So it's like, right, amazing. So estrogen and progesterone affect the insulin. Now, menopause. You kind of go, right, menopause, all the hormones disappear, I'll go back to being a skinny little kid. Sadly, no. So what happens in menopause is, oh, my contact lens is getting it's decided to fall out. Oh well. What happens in menopause is you can stop your estrogen and progesterone do stop. They shrink down to bugger all. And we do lose fat as women, but we lose subcutaneous fat. Because remember, the little girl developed subcutaneous fat on her hips and bottom. So often postmenopausal women will say, oh, that's my bottom. But they'll also lose their face. So they can be a bit jowly, and they will lose subcutaneous fat around their arms, which is the invention of the bingo wing. So the bingo wing, as it's called, is, or the chicken wing or whatever it's called, is when the fat in the back of your arm goes and you're just left with that slightly flabby skin. So you do definitely lose subcutaneous fat. But then what happens is that you go on to have increased visceral fat. So we develop, our hormone profile is more like a middle-aged man and middle-aged woman. So the middle-aged man is decreasing his testosterone, middle-aged woman, middle-aged, it's a terrible phase, isn't it? But postmenopausal women has decreased her estrogen and progesterone, and the fat is then stored more around the middle. So that's why women postmenopausal often lose their plump cheeks but get their middle tum. And we can change that. So, you know, for some women, having HRT can be really helpful. It's, you know, their menopause symptoms can be really debilitating. And the part of that is that it's also very, just giving this a little bit of a stir, very impactful. Menopause can be very impactful on women's sleep. And you all know that Mary and I often quip that you can sleep yourself thin. Not entirely sure that that's strictly true in the true letter of the law, but we do know that good quality sleep is really important for weight management. Poor quality sleep increases insulin resistance. At the end of the day, all roads point to insulin. So estrogen and progesterone have an effect on insulin. Now here's the other thing to know. For men, so men who have developed, you know, have stored lots of fat around their body, estrogen is also made in our fat tissue. So post-menopausal women, the estrogen is not coming from your ovaries anymore, it can come from your fat tissue. And again, this can be one of the things why plumper women maintain their subcutaneous fat. It's not that they've got, I mean, it's part of their overall, I guess, you know, where your fat's stored, but part of it is that your fat stores are making estrogen. And for men, what that means, their fat stores are making estrogen too. So we see in men, they get lower testosterone levels, and they'll often complain of being, when I say complain, they'll come to the doctor with the complaint of tiredness and lethargy and, you know, decreased libido and all those sorts of things. And what's happening is that testosterone is low, but that's because estrogen is high. And then the estrogen effect on men is to give them man boobs. So man boobs are not just fat, it's actual breast tissue. And so they often wonder why, you know, they think that they've got this breast tissue because they're just overall carrying extra weight, but it's actually estrogen. So estrogen, really, really important to know about. So there we go. So that's my little chat on estrogen. So estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all of the hormones all play a really big part in our general health and well-being. If you know, if one's not working, It's like, you know, as I've often mentioned and Mary mentions, it's like a symphony, like an orchestra. And if one's out, if the strings aren't playing properly, then the brass will try and cover up the really bad noise. This is almost done, darlings. How good's that? I didn't even get a chance to finish my yak. Bloody hormones, yeah. Look, hormones, basically, I mean, this is part of the reason that we have called our 12-week program the 12-week mind-body rebalance. We're trying to rebalance the hormones. So the metabolic hormones are out of balance when our body is storing too much fat. Sour cream for the win. I'm just going to grab a clean spoon. And the other thing, well, I've got my microphone. I'm sure that most of you know that Dr. Mary is doing a masterclass. If you've been to one of them before, this one is very similar. But if you haven't, come to our masterclass. It's basically on, you know, the strategies that you need for long-term weight loss. I think in our group today, are you all in our, Deborah, the way to boost testosterone in men for the majority of them is to lose weight if they're overweight. If they're overweight and they lose body fat, they will reduce the amount of testosterone and they will reduce the amount of estrogen, and then that will stop the conversion. So that is our number one strategy. If they're not losing weight, then no, there's no food to boost testosterone. There's no phytotestosterones. They then need to look at supplements. So if you've been to our masterclass, they're a bit of a hoot. Mary and I are both there. I'm the behind the scenes gal and Mary's the front woman. And it's all about the strategies needed for long-term weight loss. As you know, we always say weight loss is more than a meal plan. A meal plan can be a helpful tool, but it's not going to serve you well. The strategies needed for permanent weight loss are different to the strategies needed for temporary weight loss. And I don't know if you all saw I don't know if Barry's on tonight, but in our group, are you all in the group? If you're not in the group, go over to the group and have a look. Barry posted a picture of himself where he had lost weight doing a calorie restricted diet. You will definitely lose weight if you want to count your calories, and you can do that, but you won't keep it off. You just can't. You can't keep it off. Absolutely, Nick. Lifting weights is very helpful. A low carbohydrate diet is very helpful. The reason weight lifting is helpful is because, and that's the missing point of the puzzle, Brodwin, the group, I know we've got so many groups. The group is just our big group, our big community, low carb real food group that anyone can join. And then we've got our groups for our paid up members. So we've got the 12-week group, which is about to close because we're starting a new 12-week soon. And then we've got our beautiful Momentum members. So Barry, and the members is just, the Momentum is just girls. So Barry put a picture of himself having lost weight, and he'd lost significant, calorie restricted, but he didn't keep it off. I have lost and gained the same 20 kilos, 5 or 10 times. I didn't keep it off. This way of eating and learning to manage my mind around this way of eating is what has helped me keep it off. Learning to know myself well, weight loss is a personal development journey. Learning to understand the tricks that your brain will play is absolutely the key. And you can definitely change the way your brain thinks if you know how to do it. So we will be going through some of those steps, or Mary will be, on Thursday night, 7:30 Melbourne time. If you're overseas or you want to come to the 10 a.m. Melbourne time as well, Thursday, we've got the two. You need to register, and the reason you need to register is because we will send you the link if you can't come. So I'll put a link at the end of this, or you can go to our Facebook page, or maybe you've seen it. I mean, I feel like it's everywhere. But yes, we're super excited. And of course, the doors to enrollment for the next round of the 12-week Mind Body Rebalance are on Thursday. Huzzah! Now, my lovelies, this is done. I'm just turning it off so I don't burn myself. I don't know if you can see that. That is magnificent. It's not runny. Again, I didn't put any liquid in it because there was enough fluid from the cabbage. It's not runny. Smells delicious. It's got a little bit of sour cream in it. It's got lots of protein. it's magnificent. It's hot, it's gonna be delicious. And I cooked it all in what, 20, whilst I was yakking. If I wasn't yakking so much, I could have done it a bit faster. Nick, I'm so glad that you like the knowledge. Every now and then I think, God, am I just banging on? But honestly, there is stuff that we need to know. And it is, the combination of the science behind stuff and then some practical things like, how to cook real food real fast. I think that's what we offer. Anyway, my lovelies, have a wonderful, wonderful night. I'm going to eat this now because it's magnificent. And I'll see you on Thursday if you're coming. Otherwise, I'll see you around the traps, no doubt. Or I'll see you next week and I'll think about what to cook next week. Have a lovely, lovely evening. Bye for now.